Okay, this is an interview today of my father, Joe Bunnell, and we're going to be asking a few questions for Amy Stringham, and this is in regards to the Korean War conflict. Okay, first question would be, why did you enlist?
Because my older brother enlisted in the Navy and I wanted to follow suit.
Okay, how long did you serve?
Uh, three, just under 3 years. I was in on a minority cruise.
Okay,
That's a 3-year deal, and I got out 3 months early.
okay. What was your assignment?
Radarman.
Radarman, okay. What did you know about the war in Korea when you entered the Navy?
Just stuff that you hear on the news, and it was pretty bad. And I had a brother over there, and so you just hear the stuff that you hear on the news.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your typical day like?
In the military?
In the military,
Yeah.
like when you were on ship or before you got to the ship when you first started?
Typical day was, you always had an 8-hour watch. Sometimes you might have a 4-hour. But so you did your watch, and then it depended on whether there was a day watch or a mid watch or something like that. Why then if it was daytime, you were off on the daytime, then you just write letters to family and girlfriend, and just odds and ends like that. But a lot of them just played games, different types of games, and once in a while maybe lay out on the deck and try to get a tan.
Okay. Did you see any combat?
No.
Were you ever worried or scared during your time in service?
Not really, because we never were threatened with anything. So no, I wasn't.
I understand that you were actually heading for Korea when the war ended.
Right, we were in Yokosuka, Japan, and the day that we left for Korea, it was over. They signed the peace treaty. We still went to Korea and patrolled.
Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Where did you travel while you were in the service?
You got time for a list?
I'm ready. Even a song if you'd like.
When I got out of the boot camp, I went up to Bremerton, Washington, and got on this ship, the USS Quincy. It's a heavy cruiser, and we put it in commission. And then when we were ready to set sail, we went to someplace in Oregon. I forgot the name of it, and got the ordnance for the guns and everything. Then we came by Oakland, California, just for a couple of days. Went on down from there to San Diego, and then we went into the Panama Canal over to the Atlantic. When we got there, we went to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, for training, gunnery training, and different maneuvers. And then we went and took a trip down to Haiti. I think that was just kind of like a goodwill trip. And after that, we had a little damage on the ship, so we went to Norfolk, Virginia, had that repaired, and then let's see, about September we had a 6 months tour in Europe. So you want me to go on and say where I went in Europe?
Sure.
Okay, first we went to England, and then Scotland, and then we went from there to the Rock of Gibraltar, then went from there to inside the Mediterranean, went to Turkey, went to Greece, went to 2 places in France, went 2 places in Italy, and went to 2 places in Sicily. And when I was in Naples, Italy, I took a trip to Pompeii, and that was really something to see. And in Sicily, went into the catacombs, and that was something to see. real interesting. And of course, 2 places in each of those countries. And then after that, we went to Spain, and that's going out of the Mediterranean. We went back over to the Rock of Gibraltar, and then we were relieved by another ship, another heavy cruiser, and then we headed back to Norfolk, Virginia. After a short time there, should I keep going with this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. After a short time there, we went back through the Panama to the Pacific, and then ended up in San Pedro. That's near Los Angeles, and actually near Long Beach. And then we went on another tour to Japan. First went to Hawaii, and from Hawaii we went on to Yokosuka, Japan. While we were there, we took my buddy and I. He had a friend that had a car. We took a trip to Tokyo, and got a good sightseeing trip, and then come back to another little town and went through a big, large Buddha. Just something to see. And so then we went to. We were headed to. After that, we were headed to Korea, and then we went over and just went along the shoreline patrolling in Korea. And then after we left Korea, we went to Hong Kong. And so that was kind of the end of that duty. We went back to Hawaii, stayed there a little while, and then we returned to San Pedro and stayed there for maybe 2 or 3 months. And then we went from there back to, went by Monterey, California, and then on up to Bremerton again, and we put the ship out of commission. From there, was transferred to Seattle, Washington, receiving station. And from Seattle, Washington, I was sent down to Treasure Island, and I was there 3 months, and I was discharged at Treasure Island.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that's it.
Let's see. Tell me about some of your tell a few of your most memorable experiences.
Well, the ones I said before with the catacombs and Pompeii and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, you just kind of go into restaurants, and I didn't do a lot of sightseeing. Like when we were near the Leaning Tower of Pisa, I think we were within 15 miles, and I didn't go see it. So a lot of the guys took tours to different places.
Tell them a little bit about the catacombs, because that was pretty interesting.
Well, the catacombs are just kind of weird. You go in there, and they've got people hanging on hooks, and their face is like leather, and their hair is real long, and their fingernails still grow, and but it's just weird to see. It was kind of like a U-shaped thing. You walk in, you go down one way, and then you hang a left, and you're still seeing all the bodies hanging on walls, and then when you go to come out of the place, they had preserved people that was royalty or whatever you call them then, and they looked like they just laying there asleep. So that type of thing was real interesting. And of course, you got the big mountains to look at over there, Mount Etna.
Right.
Stuff like that. So.
Not active at the time, I take it.
No.
Well, that's a good thing.
We wouldn't want that.
Let's see. What'd you do for fun on leave? Ever pull a prank on anybody?
No, not really. I didn't drink, didn't smoke, and so we just go to these places that, like in Italy, you go to most of the restaurants are out on the sidewalk. In fact, we never did go inside the one. You just go to the ones that are outside, and have something to eat, and walk around, and sometimes go to a movie. But the movies we went to when we were overseas, most of the time we were on the ship. So that's kind of what we did.
No, that's good.
Go to the EM clubs and things like that. Enlisted man club.
Let everybody else cut up and get in trouble.
Yeah.
Let's see. How was the food on the ship?
Yucky.
Was there anything?
Some of it was pretty good, and a lot of it was pretty bad.
Mhm.
You know.
You had me cook some things for you. You said, we're like on the ship. You said it was pretty good.
Now I have to jump back one. You said something about the pranks thing. Could you enlighten us about the lighting the paper on fire and dropping it into the latrine?
Well, on the Quincy, our bathrooms were like a horse trough with half seats. So you got a row of those for, say, 10 feet. I don't know if I should be telling this. And so the water comes in at one end, and then it goes under everybody, and it goes out the side of the ship into the ocean. So some of the guys at the high end would bundle up toilet paper and set it on fire, and then that would go underneath everybody that's sitting on the pots, and it looked like pistons working in a car. So,
Big pop-up.
That's funny. Let's see here. What did you do in the days after you first came home?
First came home. Actually, even when I was home on my last leave, I actually worked for where my brother was working doing paving for a month. Yeah, and then after I got out, that's where I went to work.
And let's see, did your experience influence the way you thought about war?
The fact that I wasn't actually in combat, I don't think that I had really much thoughts on that. I was just glad I was not in it.
Right.
Like over, where my brother was in Korea. Yeah, I was glad I wasn't in that situation.
Yeah, I remember actually asking your brother about his experience in Korea, and when he started opening up to it, it was like I had never seen so many people walk over with their ears listening to what he had to say.
Yeah.
Because he was so private about it.
Yeah. That's the way a lot of guys were that was in the military. They don't tell them any stories.
Right. Well, you're young,
Yeah.
and you had to do terrifying things, and yeah. Let's see. Did your experience match your expectation of war? You weren't really in.
No, I wasn't in, so that's and we were never in any danger. Of course, when you're out there doing like heading toward the Mediterranean, you're doing maneuvers all the way over there. We're doing maneuvers with the British, their ships and our ships, and then they're doing in the same thing when you got inside the Mediterranean. You're doing maneuvers and just all kinds of maneuvers, even towing other ships just for practice.
What about any long-term effects did your service have on you? Did anything like to do with your disciplines change, or did it make you more of a man? Or?
Well, naturally, it makes you more of a man. Discipline, I don't know. I was always a little bit crazy. So,
yeah.
You gotta have a little fun,
It says the last question was anything you wanted to add, and one thing I wanted to tell them about is visiting Ray on the Kearsarge.
Yeah, when we left for Japan, the Quincy and the aircraft carrier Kearsarge left together and went to Hawaii. My brother was on the Kearsarge. So after we've been all through the tour of duty of Japan and Korea, why, on the way back to Hawaii, I got permission from the captain to, the Quincy had a helicopter that went over to the carrier and picked up mail and did all kinds of things. I got permission to get on that helicopter one morning, and I was going to surprise my brother. But the fact that he was in radar and I was in radar, when the helicopter left for the Kearsarge, well, they reported that our what they call it helo, so they would say like our helo to you with mail and passengers Bunnell. So when I get over there, we're kind of hovering above the aircraft carrier because we couldn't land immediately, and there he is looking up at. So I thought, doggone it.
That is such a good thing.
And I stayed there all day, and then the helicopter picked me up that evening and back to the ship. But the thing about that is the guys said they'll never let you do that. But what you do in the military, you go through the chain of command. You start with your officer, you know, your petty officer that's head in charge of you. You go right up all the way to the captain. And that's the way it worked.
Right.
So it worked for me.
You want to show us a couple of your pictures?
Oh yeah. This is a picture of the Quincy. This was a historical ship. It's during the World War II, before I was on the ship. This ship took Roosevelt and Stalin and Churchill to the Yalta Conference. And so it was a real popular ship. And I got to show you this ugly picture. I don't want to scare you, but this hat here is called a flat hat. It's the one you wear when you're like up in cold country.
Oh,
Otherwise,
great.
you're wearing your white hat.
Okay.
But I was up in Bremerton, Washington, got in one of them stupid little machines that you put a quarter in, or probably then a dime, and took that picture. And then my son that's taping this right now, he's got my Navy picture, and he forgot to bring it.
I'm so sorry. Well, Amy, I hope you liked the interview. I think it worked out pretty well, pretty thorough. And we're going to go ahead and close the interview. Anything else, last thing you'd like to say?
Well, I hope she gets a good grade.
It's nice and simple. All right, here we go. Thank you.
Goodbye.